If you're a caregiver, you may think you're alone and that no one is doing anything to help you. You want to stay tuned to this program and find out what resources are available. If you're a caregiver, you don't want to miss this program. We have with us today Max Mayblum, who is founder of Givers. And this is a program that helps you get money, and it's free of charge. Max, thank you so much for being here with us today. You flew all the way in from New York City to be with us, and that just says a lot about your commitment and your dedication to the work that you do. Tell us a little bit about you and what is Givers?
Sure, happy to. And yeah, always happy to take the fight, especially for AARP. They've done so much for Givers to support us and support caregivers. So a little bit about my background. I have my own personal experience with family caregiving. And I saw my own parents kind of put their lives on hold as my aunt battled cancer during COVID. And I was living with my parents at the time and saw how intense it was. And I have a background in digital health, so I really quickly realized that there was a big opportunity to build something to support family caregivers. And so Givers was born in 2021, and we've been helping support caregivers across the entire country since then.
When you say to support caregivers in your digital background, what did you see that was missing? Navigating through any infonet, intranet, any kind of system is a challenge for young people.
Yep.
It's even more of a challenge for a lot of, not all, but a lot of older adults.
Yeah, I experienced it myself. During the day, I was helping build a telehealth solution. So we were really focused on lowering the barriers to accessing great care and making it digitally first, but also easy and accessible. And at night, I was helping my parents try and find different support programs, looking through insurance, looking through government programs. What I ran into was a web of 404 pages, links that I have to click through to get to the information I was looking for. And I really saw a juxtaposition between day and night for me. And that's when I realized what the power of the work I had been doing in digital health and how that can be applied to caregiving to really lower the barriers to finding support.
Define digital health.
Digital health is so broad. It can mean having devices in your home. It can mean telehealth solutions. It can also mean services and programs that help you access support. And that's what Givers is.
So you were already in that field.
Yes.
And then the personal experience helped you to elevate systems to figure out how to more easily access and navigate for folks to access and navigate the help that they need.
Yeah, it really helped me focus. It helped me realize where I wanted to apply my skill set and apply my time and energy.
So what did you do? Quit what you were doing and just do this full time? How did you start? What made you, or did you do part time?
As soon as sort of the idea dawned upon me that I could take what I was doing for my parents and scale that across the country with a digital solution, I spent most of my nights working and trying to build something. And before I knew it, I had a website up and thousands of people were coming to this website. I had spent very little money on marketing and people were just hungry for support. And so I decided to make the jump. I took the leap and started full time in 2021 on Givers. And we've been so lucky. We've gotten support of many investors. AARP is one of our investors. So having the support of great people and a great team has really just helped us kind of scale that mission, but it still stays the same as what it was at day one.
And your passion for this is obvious because you're not charging people a dime to access this information.
Right, yeah. The problem that I found is that a lot of support does exist. It's hard to find. And when you're in the middle of caring for a loved one, which I saw with my own family, the last thing you need is to be looking through different difficult websites to navigate to find the support that you deserve. And if it's out there, it should be put in front of you. And so we've thought about TurboTax. We thought about Netflix and Amazon and all these other comparables we have in our lives where you can go online and in the click of the button, get the thing that you're looking for. And we want to bring that to the people who need it the most.
Wow. So tell us how it works. What do people need to do? That is just, when I heard the story, because I'm involved with the Innovation Lab at AARP, and I say involved, I'm just a stalker. That's how I'm involved. And I love the work that they do to help businesses all across the world, really, that are advocating for older adults, to put a spotlight on them and to give them support. And that's really what happened with you. And you had to do a pitch contest. It wasn't just like, oh, call AARP, here's an idea. the competition was stiff.
Yes.
How many, do you know about how many people were
So it's
pitching?
a rigorous selection process. There's once per quarter, there's an opportunity to pitch to AARP. And if you're selected, get into what they call the Age Tech Collaborative, where they support a number of startups and create an ecosystem with corporations, with government, and bring sort of the best of all worlds together for there to be innovation in this space that needs it so badly. And so what we do at Givers, I'd really kind of define as two things. One is about lowering barriers to finding access or finding support. And so that comes in the shape of a tool. It's a free resource where people can come online, come to our website at joingivers.com, and they'll answer a few questions, sort of like a TurboTax, and we'll help them find the programs that they're eligible for local to them. And so that's a proprietary tool. We've looked across the entire country and centralized all of that information, helping people get educated and then navigate towards the program that they need. And then excitingly, in some states, we're actually hiring, supporting, and paying family caregivers now. So through some of the Medicaid programs that we help direct people to, there's the need for providers to actually provide the support once someone has been enrolled. And so in some states, we're actually able to now hire, support, and pay caregivers.
So people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what benefits are out there. And if they're caring for someone, they don't really have the time or sometimes the know-how to figure out, what do I do or where do I go? I can remember an older lady, and she was like 90 pounds and her husband was only 200 pounds. And she just wanted him help turning him. She had to turn him all the time. And she couldn't, and she just got frustrated figuring out, where can I go to get some help just to simply turn my husband on a daily basis so he can stay in his own home, which is where people want to stay. So you have access to all of the services that are available, and then you do some kind of algorithm or whatever to figure out what works for Paula, what works for this person, that person, et cetera.
People talk about how AI is going to take all of our jobs, right? But AI is never going to replace caregiving. And the one great thing about how we've been able to leverage AI and being smart with technology is to lower these barriers. So yeah, what we're able to do is ask you a few really simple questions and then find you the support that you need. So really just a few-minute journey with us.
Fascinating. And again, the website is...
It's joingivers.com.
And it's on the, you can see it right here on the screen. But tell us about some of the services that are available to people that they may not know about. What are some of those?
Sure. So in Michigan, just over the last year, over 30,000 people came to Givers and accessed support through our website. Wow. And
that was before the show. Just
right.
think what's going to happen now.
Yes. And so Michigan in particular, and this mirrors most states, offers kind of three buckets of caregiver support. And I would define them as non-financial support, advocacy, and then financial support. So non-financial support is usually through area agencies on aging. So every region in the country has an area agency on aging. And these are government-sponsored entities, and they offer caregiver support in the form of respite care, in the form of training, in the form of counseling, and caregivers can access those services for free. The second bucket is advocacy. So in Michigan specifically, there's the Michigan Ombudsman Program. And that's for caregivers who have family members who are in long-term care facilities. And if you're a caregiver and you think your loved one isn't getting great quality care, or you have questions about eligibility or cost, this is a free resource that you can access just through a phone call, and someone will help guide you through finding out if there's any alternatives or if they can speak to the facility on your behalf and advocate for you. And then the third bucket is financial support. So most states, 48 states right now, have Medicaid waivers, and I can define those a little bit better in a moment, where programs in which family caregivers can get paid through Medicaid. And then also, if you're caring for a veteran, the VA offers benefits for family caregivers to get paid for the work that they're doing as well.
And most physicians' offices don't even know about all the services that are available. So it takes another third party or someone else to help people understand what they might be. Some do, but might be able to take advantage of. Talk about the pitch. What exactly was involved with the pitch? And I mean, how much time did you have? Because there are people out there with all sorts of ideas. We want to encourage them as well. We want to get back to talking about the caregivers, but talk about the pitch competition.
Well, for me, it's all about the mission and it's about the trends, right? I think the importance of the moment can't be lost upon us. COVID really changed things. And if your parents are in the baby boomer generation, which is roughly 60 to 80 years old, I define you then as part of the caregiver generation. And why are you part of the caregiver generation? Well, there's a few things happening. For baby boomers, we've got lifespans are extending, and they're aging into the 65 plus population, which is in the middle of doubling right now. And then on top of that, the cost of care has gone up so significantly. Long-term care facilities are cost prohibitive. There's been a major labor shortage with professional caregivers. And so it's basically impossible to find someone to come and support you. And family members are taking on more and more of the burden. And one of the things that we believe at Givers is that the burden isn't actually about caring. It's about all the other stuff that happens around it. And so we believe if we can solve those problems, we can allow caregivers to focus on the care. And I saw it in my own family. There wasn't a moment where we didn't enjoy sitting with my aunt and being there to help her. It was when you had to step out of the room and when you had to make the phone call or you had to go on the website and try and do that other thing. Right. That was the burden.
Right. That's very powerful and so true. You know, I can remember going to the Asian American Pacific Islander community and talking about caregivers, going to many in the African American community. They didn't even know that they were a caregiver. Mm-hmm. It's my mom. It's my dad. It's my grandpa.
Yes.
That it's just what we do.
Yeah.
And we define it as caregiving. It's just their loved one and they're helping their loved one do whatever they needs to be done. But it's the other things.
Yeah. And the late First Lady Rosalind Carter, who's a champion for caregivers, has a great quote, which I'm sure you're aware of, is that there's only 4 types of people in this world. There's people who are caregivers, people who will be caregivers, people who have been caregivers, and people who will need a caregiver themselves.
Exactly. And just knowing the website alone, just knowing where to go to put in a little bit of information anywhere in the country, no matter who's looking at this. If you have an aunt or an uncle somewhere in Idaho, give them the website, tell them to go and visit so they can get information about services that are available directly to them. I'm so impressed with you, first of all, because not only did you follow your passion, you were in this work, but the family, this says a lot about you. What would you say to people who are struggling right now in terms of providing care? What kind of encouragement would you?
Well, the first thing I would say is you're not alone. As AARP has made us so very well aware, there's 53 million Americans who are caring for a loved one. So you may not talk about it, but your friend, your neighbor, your cousin, someone else may be feeling the exact same way that you are. So the first thing is always feeling supported and feeling known, feeling seen. And then the second thing is that support is here. I've talked about the trends about why caregiving has become such a big thing. There's also a trend of sort of support to meet that new demand. There's companies like Givers that have started. There's companies like AARP that are creating ecosystems for support. There's government programs that are coming up. Out of the public health emergency during COVID, 48 states kept programs that pay family caregivers. And so really the paradigm has shifted and the conversation has changed. So it's no longer something that you need to feel embarrassed about or guilty of. Emotions are complicated, and we see it with the caregivers that we support. People feel different ways about the care they're providing, and that's part of the journey. And we're there to help for any part of that.
Absolutely. I know AARP has been in this business for a very, very long time. What do you see in your business as the next step or the next evolution to the work that you're currently doing? Because I can kind of hear the cycle of your brain churning, saying there's more, and this is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I mean, but what's the next version of this?
I think we're changing into a society of caregivers, right? And I talked about this caregiving generation, and we as a country need to prepare for that caregiving generation. And there's a role for private innovation to play in that preparation. And so for us at Givers, we want to look at how we can leverage technology to make the care experience better and easier, and to allow people to thrive as caregivers. For so long, being a caregiver has been something that stifles a career or stifles a lifestyle or stifles personal goals. And if we can remove a lot of the burdens that surround providing the care to the person you love, then I think we can really change society for the better.
And to that end, I think it was Kellogg Foundation a couple of years ago did a study that showed the average caregiver spends $7,500 or so mm-hmm. of their own money mm-hmm. Out-of-pocket expenses. And if you have brain health or dementia, that number goes way up. What are you doing with employers? Are employers embracing this, like putting it on their HR websites? Are you connecting with employers at all?
Employers definitely have a big role to play here. Uh, Caregiving is one of the biggest burdens for people while they're working, and it's taking away time and productivity and attention from work. And employers need to play a supporting role here. So at Givers Direct, we don't work directly with employers. We do make our tool available and make sure employers are aware of us. But there are other great companies that have come through the Age Tech Collaborative that I'm aware of that partner directly with employers. And those are benefits that employers are offering to their employees. And again, I think this really sort of hits home the message around support is coming. Employers are recognizing this as a need, and there are solutions that are being built to fill that need.
One of the things that we're doing currently is creating a website, a very easy to access website for employers that we will be sharing with them to share with their employees. We'll be like certain that Givers is on that resource sheet. Just same thing that you're saying. Employers sometimes don't even know they're dealing with a multitude of their HR departments, are dealing with a multitude of issues. But just a quick website to say, if you have caregivers in your company, here are some places they can go to get help. We'll make certain that Givers is on there as well.
Yeah, and we take surveys all the time. Every year we do an annual caregiver study, and we survey over 1,000 caregivers in November for National Family Caregiving Month. And one of the things we found in the last survey for 2023 was that caregiving is one of the top reasons why people are considering leaving the workforce. And so it's really a tough decision that people are facing. And so if employers can find ways to support their caregiving employees, they'll do better as an organization.
You talked a little bit about getting paid. What are some in Medicare? What are some of the parameters around whether or not a caregiver can or cannot get paid?
Yeah, so these are Medicaid programs. So Medicaid, and this can get complicated, and this is exactly why Givers exists, right? Most often, people, when I start talking to them, don't know if they're on Medicare or Medicaid. So we've got to even start there sometimes. And Medicaid is a health insurance program for low-income individuals offered across the U.S. It's a state-run program, though. So the federal government funds Medicaid and matches the state's dollars going towards this program. And every Medicaid program has to follow the federal government's rules. But each state can ask for an exemption to those rules to offer different things. Those are called Medicaid waivers. And in Medicaid waivers, all of these states have found ways to ask to the federal government, hey, can we allow people to get paid as family caregivers? And so the parameters here, if you're taking care of a loved one who's on Medicaid and they meet a certain level of care need, most often that they require nursing home level of care. So we're showing to the state that, hey, this is someone who would need to be in an institutional setting if it were not for the family caregiver, and we can keep them in the home, then you might be eligible for this program. Sometimes the programs require that it's a condition specific. So it may be focused on people with dementia, it may be focused on people with physical disabilities. There are some programs for children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so programs often have specifics, but it's most often about showing that we're keeping someone out of a facility in the home. And if that's the case, a company like Givers can help you get enrolled into these programs. And then if you're enrolled in some states, we'll actually hire you to our agency and we'll provide you a really formal framework for being trained, getting support. We have coaches, you're able to chat, and then you'll get paid on a daily or a weekly basis, depending on the program.
And people may not be aware of that, so they need to know that there's an opportunity for them to get paid. I know in Michigan we have something called the Home Help Program, which is Medicaid, a Medicaid administered program as well, where caregivers can get paid. How do you define? You've talked about this a little bit, so people just go to the website. That's all. But how do you define a caregiver? Is it? I know we talked about everyone needing one, everyone, et cetera. But it could be a young person like yourself. It could be.
Yeah, we just hired a caregiver. He's caring for his mom. He's in the state of Georgia, and he's 26 years old, and he's not able to work because his mom requires full-time care. He's been living with her, and he's been really kind of thinking about how he's going to support himself. And now with Givers and finding these programs and getting supported through us, he's able to sustain himself financially, make sure that he can pay the bills, and at the same time be there to care for his mom when she needs him.
That must be so gratifying for you.
Yeah, it's a great thing to see. And for me, Georgia really is close to home, actually, because I went to school there, and my aunt, who started this whole journey for us, she lived in Georgia. And so it was full circle moment when we hired him.
So we've got about a minute and a half left. I want you to talk a little bit about your pitch to AARP. Were you nervous?
I was a little bit nervous. Of course, AARP is such a powerful brand, and we understand and appreciate how much they bring to the table as partners. And so definitely nervous for the conversation, but really excited because oftentimes, especially when you're a health tech company, you're pitching investors who are looking at AI and looking at enterprise software, and you may need to define a caregiver to them. When I sat down with AARP, I didn't have to go over the stats. I didn't have to tell them why this is important. I had to tell them what we're doing to solve it. And so it was a really exciting conversation.
Well, I will tell you, having been here almost 10 years now, AARP vets people like better than the FBI, the CIA, or the border or anywhere else. They vet people like you would not believe. So I'm sure they know everything about what you did when you were 3 years old, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, I had to send them all the legal terms on the bottom of our website, the things that sometimes you click acknowledge, but you don't read. AARP read that. So I had to send that all to them.
And that's important because we would not be doing this program or having this show and talking about the work that you're doing if we didn't feel really comfortable that it was a legitimate, very well-run practice that helps people.
Integrity is at the bottom line of what we do.
Of everything that we do. So we've got about 15 seconds left. Tell us whatever you want to share with the audience in the time that we have left.
Well, I would just say I'm really appreciative of being here, and people can find us at joingivers.com to access support, and in some states actually get hired and paid to care for their loved ones.
And I appreciate that. And let me just close by saying thank you so much. It's just encouraging and it's inspiring to know that young people, middle-aged people, older adults, everyone is going to be or will be needing or already needs or has needed a caregiver, and that you're doing something about it. There are people who care enough to make a difference. And so we thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Driving and giving up driving, if you've been independent all of your life, is very, very difficult. Thank you for being here to talk about modes of transportation. So tell us a little bit about how to make a decision about whether or not someone should be giving up driving, or a loved one in particular.
That conversation is a very difficult conversation to have. I've had it with my own mother, and she is still driving and almost 90. But oftentimes we find that in a third-party trusted person is the best one to have that conversation with your loved one, such as a physician. And a lot of that can be dependent on how the driver is able to actually conduct the driving experience. The thing about CATA is that we don't want to take away the access to freedom and independence, and so that's what we provide. We remove that barrier and allow the driver to continue to have access to services, go to medical appointments, visit with family and friends, so that that quality of life continues to be available to them.
And that's so important. And it's not about going to a bus stop and getting on a CATA bus. There are other options for people that are a bit more private, and they should explore those options.
That's correct. We do have several demand response, curb-to-curb services that are scheduled in advance for drivers to take advantage of.
And do people need to qualify in order to take advantage of those, or if you just call, or what's the process?
For SpecTran, they would need to qualify, and there is an application process to that, and that application is available at cata.org/SpecTran. It is reviewed by an independent third party, and that is Disability Network, Capital Area.
Good organization, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here with us today. You know, people talk about buying gold, buying silver, buying, hoarding, whatever. What can families do, because the market's so volatile, to protect their income or to protect their savings?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, especially as you've accumulated wealth, that you want to preserve it. And there's some different risks that we're experiencing, especially in this market today. Market volatility is being a big one, where a lot of 401ks have become 201ks. Luckily, things are starting to come back. And there's some different moves from an investment standpoint, like the idea that when you invest when you're 30 should be different than the way you invest when you're 60, because now you're going to have to start pulling some money out. Plus, there's been changes in tax laws, and taxes are going up in the future. So there's certain moves, like doing things like maybe a Roth conversion, where we take pre-tax dollars, pay the tax now, and we can move it into a tax-free growth vehicle. Another big risk right now is long-term care costs as well, and there's some things we can do to protect against long-term care costs. But yeah, the big three in terms of risks that we see these days is market volatility, taxes, and long-term care costs.
And there's not a lot that the consumer can do about any of those except prepare and plan.
Right, yeah, and that's really what we focus on as financial planners. We help clients plan, protect, and preserve what's important to them.
And the long-term care cost is something that people don't often think about. They might think about having a little nest egg over here when they retire, but not the long-term care.
Yeah, long-term care costs are just skyrocketing. Right now, a nursing home could cost $10,000 to $15,000 a month, and 1 out of 2 people set foot in a nursing home. And the average stay in a nursing home is about 2.5 years. Now, not everyone goes into a nursing home, but I had a client, sat down with her, and she was talking about her mom who'd been in a nursing home for 17 years.
Wow. And was she ready for that?
No, I don't think anyone can
Anybody's
be ready
for that. That's, yeah, regardless of Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, you've got to make certain that you plan.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim Palmer, physician assistant with Great Lakes Center Rheumatology, and today I would like to talk about knee pain associated with osteoarthritis. What is osteoarthritis? Osteoarthritis is where the knee is affected by factors such as surgeries, trauma, obesity. It can even be everyday activities such as sports when you were younger, or standing on a factory for your entire life and your job. It's basically the soft tissues in the joint eroding away, causing pain. The good news is despite the fact that we're all susceptible to osteoarthritis pain, is we have multiple different treatment options to help. So initially we would start with weight management, such as diet, exercise, and occasional use of NSAID medications, which would be Motrin, Advil, naproxen, and sometimes some prescription strength medications, such as Celebrex or Mobic. We would also add physical therapy, as it shows that strengthening that joint helps to alleviate pain as well. With patients that have pain after those modalities, we would typically get an x-ray first to rule out if there's anything else going on. After that, we have injections that can help alleviate pain. So cortisone injections, that's a steroid that we directly inject into the knee capsule, and that provides anti-inflammatory properties. After that, we do have what's called viscous therapy injections, and this is typically a series of injections, which is 1 a week for about 3 to 5 weeks. And this is a thick viscous gel that is used to simulate the synovial fluid that was once in the knee. That promotes smooth articulation and, again, corrects pain. So despite the fact that we are all affected by osteoarthritis pain, as you know, we have multiple different treatments to help manage that.
This was such good information. It touched my heart, and I hope that you will share the information with other people who are caregivers, other people who need the information that you've heard today. Thanks for watching AARP, Real Possibilities.